That is not how I flirt. How dare you? We have another person who is interested in Do Jun by the name of
No. Welcome back to Two Beans on Screen, where we watch K-dramas and talk about them. This week we are on episode 6 of Reborn Rich. I'm Qomi.
And I'm CB.
And let's just jump right in. CB, what would you like to talk about this episode?
I want to talk about how this was the best episode so far. I don't know if you felt the same way, but I want to get right into overall impressions because there was a lot in this episode. But unlike last episode where it felt like there was so much information thrown at us, I felt like this one they kind of slowed down. They let us breathe in certain moments. Did you feel the same way? Was this a good episode for you?
I really enjoyed this episode, but I think because it had a lot more business in it, I was a little like scattered. I was like, I feel like maybe if I was in the country or I grew up and was born there, I would understand a little bit more. Like maybe
Sure.
like I don't know, because we didn't live through the IMF crisis over there or anything, right? So like I felt like I was a little bit couldn't follow along as closely as I wanted to about all the information that was going on.
Same. Yeah.
But a lot of a lot of our questions have been answered, and I don't know, like they were answered, but we also developed like a deeper question about like, oh my god, like now what's gonna happen leading on from this, which I'm excited to also keep watching and keep learning about.
Yeah, I think it's that thing of they managed to answer some of our questions, especially regarding the mother, but they managed to set up a new mystery as well. I know. And that's why, to me, this was the best episode yet. And I hope they can continue this momentum because it was a gut punch. Last episode, we unfortunately ended up with Do Jun discovering that despite his efforts, they were not able to save his mom. And the beginning of this episode just dives right into that with him discovering that she didn't die of a heart attack this time. She actually took her own life. And that's obviously very, very heavy in and of itself. But as her son, that must be extremely heartbreaking to hear. And so he starts digging into that. He goes to the restaurant, which he had purchased to hopefully take care of them and make sure that they didn't have the financial troubles that they did. And in doing so, he uncovers a whole bunch of stuff. He sees, her notes. It broke my heart seeing like only able to get like $5 birthday gift for her son. Like that sort of stuff just really hurts to see because you must know that must be really hard on her. And as you dig more and more and more into it, he was very confused because he's like, my mom never had delusions of grandeur. She never wanted to be rich. She never wanted any of this stuff. But the more he dug into it, the more I felt that connection with her, especially with the flashback scene where they talk about university. How did you feel about that scene?
I thought it was powerful. Like
Yeah.
you could see their breaths in the restaurant because it was so cold, and it kind of emphasized the fact that they don't have a lot of money to provide even basic heating.
Yeah.
All that stuff. You can see how hard she's working to provide for him, and his dream is to go to university, but that is a really hard road to go down when you don't have money to support yourself.
Yeah. At the point where you can't even buy a birthday gift or have little costs like heat, right? How are you going to afford the tens of thousands of dollars that it costs to send somebody to university?
Yeah, and she even said like go to university, like she will still try to continue to support him and
Yeah.
have a better life so you don't feel sorry for your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, damn, like that is such a impactful sentence because I feel like a lot of immigrant families can relate to that. Like
For
my
sure.
parents came to Canada for a better life, and I feel sort of like a pressure to do better, to return the favor kind of thing. Like,
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah, so I hope he also. I mean, of course, he definitely felt that as well. The way he grew up in his old life too, where
Yeah.
he worked so many different jobs and worked so hard to provide an income.
Yep.
I feel like that scene kind of showed like he said he wanted to earn lots of money and help support the family and stuff too, which he kind of ends up doing in his old life. But like that scene is like almost his motivation of like it became his like life motto type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see how genuinely she cared for him. All she wanted was to see him succeed, and how poorly she thought of herself as a mother because she couldn't give him those things. And that, I don't know, I just want to give a shout out to the actor who plays his mom as well, because she is phenomenal. She is also the mother in Our Beloved Summer.
I still haven't
And
watched that.
it is so good. I think honestly, it's probably my favorite at this point in terms of K dramas.
Oh.
Yeah, I know, but I don't want to set the bar too high. It's just one of those ones that personally I connected with for a lot of different reasons. But she is in that, and she has this vulnerability to her and this warmth that really immediately, like when I see her, I get emotional. Just even like seeing her at the beginning of this drama, I was like, oh, please, please don't do this to me. And so this scene where the two of them are kind of connecting in that way, and then seeing her later on in the episode where he's kind of like imagining what she was going through on the street when she is realizing what has happened to her stocks. So maybe we'll dive a little bit more into that, because over the course of this episode, as we uncover what happens to her, we find out that she invested in Soonyang shares, but not just any shares. There are different kind of stocks that you can invest in. And so she had been investing in Soonyang Life Sciences, I believe is what it was called.
Yes.
So Soonyang Life Sciences was a division of the company that was doing fairly well, at least for people who invested early on. The stock price just kept going up and up and up. And we see in flashbacks that she was checking it every day. She would watch the TV, she would check her share, and consistently going up. And so she continued to invest more of the family's money into this stock. And unfortunately, when the recession hit and the company needed to liquidate some assets for reasons we will talk about, she lost everything. So not only would that have been the university money, not only would that have been paying for her second child to be able to, go to school or whatever it was, that was their heat money, that was their gift money, that was everything that she had put aside. And so when her the father of the family, her husband, lost his job and was being stubborn, she now knew that they had nothing. So that's why she was so upset in the last episode about the flowers as well, because it wasn't just that he wasn't earning money. She was upset with herself because she had lost everything on this stock.
We didn't even get to talk about last episode where Do Jun finally realized what he said to his dad was so uncalled for.
Oh, that's right. We didn't. Okay, well, let's talk about that now. So what happened?
So when they were fighting about the flowers, he's like, what did I do so wrong that I can't even buy flowers for my wife? Like, I got a job at 18. I worked for Ajin Motors for 30 years. Like, I provide for my family. I did everything that I could right. I don't understand how everything can go so wrong. And it flashed back to Jin Do Jun in his old life, telling his dad, like you call yourself a man, like you barely provided for the family type of thing. Like, yeah. I don't remember what specifically he said, but it was a really harsh dig to his dad, saying like it basically meant like he didn't respect him, like he didn't see him as like someone who provided for the family and was also the cause of the mother's death. And
yeah, it was definitely hinted at that, like, on this day especially, how dare he talk to his old name, how dare he talk to him that way, of being like, well, it's time to be a man and go and find a family and all these things. And he was like, how dare you say that to me, especially on this day, insinuating that he was the cause of the mother's death, but also wasn't a provider. He wasn't a good father. All of those things combined into one, and it was extremely hurtful to the father. But the father didn't speak back. He obviously felt a lot of guilt. Now we understand why, knowing that he had taken this stand for his job that ended up causing the mother's heart attack and all of these different things. But in context, it's different. Seeing it as an adult, we miss so many things. Like, imagine being able to go back to the time that you were 8 years old and you hear the conversations that your parents are having where they would openly speak knowing that you wouldn't fully understand.
Yeah.
But if you could at the time, you would probably have a very different understanding of who your parents are and the struggles they've gone through.
Yeah, for sure. Like, don't even want to talk about that stuff because that's such a rough subject.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
we will never
Yeah.
understand the struggles that our parents went through until we get older, and then we can't do anything about it. All we can do is like kind of regret and sympathize, but yeah. Oh,
It's
too
one of
deep.
those harrowing things about growing older is too late do we get the understanding and the empathy, and by that point there's nothing we can do about it. It's one of the tragedies of life. But
Yeah.
let's not linger on this too much. Let's just say that both of these episodes did a really, really good job of bringing the emotional stakes to the story, making me feel way too many things, which I was not expecting with the show. I remember actually early on, we had a conversation, I think back in episode 1 of the podcast, where we were like, do you think this episode can make us feel things? And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like it's a very business-oriented kind of show. It did. It got there. It hurt me. And I'm glad that it did, but also how dare they? But okay, so life sciences, we see that she invested all this money in there, and then we see her. Well, when he exits the building, his Soonyang, he sees the people protesting outside, and then he thinks he sees his mom across the street, and she like bumps into somebody, and she's looking down at her clothing and seeing the holes in her sleeves, and she doesn't dress the way obviously she would want to. And then as the bus is approaching, he kind of like sees the reality play out of the regret that she has over her actions, her life, and, well, I think her sons as well, not being able to give them what she wished.
Yeah, and I honestly, like, if they were gonna hurt us, I wish they would hurt us more. I wanted to see the father and the son, like, mourning her as well. I wanted to see their reactions to her death because, yeah, she was important to Do Jun, but like the family lost her as well. Like, I wanted to see more. I wanted to be hurt more.
Yeah, I mean, I will always push for more emotion. Like, the reason that we watch these things is we want to feel that. You want to feel the impact of that. So I'm right there with you. I wish we had seen their reactions, and we might still get those. I feel like it's possible. I think, okay, so he tried to reconnect. We were wondering why he hasn't this entire time. Why hasn't he reconnected? And I feel like he needed to be in a place where he felt he could help in a way that's natural without just being like, I'm your regular customer. And I feel like he was trying to reconnect and it was just too little too late. But he still has the chance to do it with the rest of his family. And I don't think he will. But I feel like we might see him at some point with his father and brother again because of that first episode flashback. I feel like he needs to apologize to his dad in some form now.
I can agree with that part, yes. But at the same time, I don't think we're gonna watch them grieve over the mom the way we did
True.
when we saw him in the restaurant. Like,
Right.
like, this was his lowest point in his old life, and now he has to relive it again. Like, that's so traumatizing. Like, I wish we got to see his family also mourning her as well, because he lived through it the first time with that family, and now he has to like suffer alone. Like, I kind of think like if he got to mourn her with his old family in a way, it would be less painful, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been such a powerful scene, like, or like a moment for them. Like, it was, like, I always want to see more connections with him to his old life, and I feel like this could have been a really great opportunity, but like, we don't really get to see his old family, which I wish we got more of.
I mean, we've touched on it before, but it is worth calling out. The most interesting moments to me are when we see him with his old family, him with the chairman, but also just Do Jun in general. He is an interesting character given that his old life and his new life are very much at odds. The least interesting scenes usually are around the Soonyang family. Like,
I actually think this episode, though, was pretty interesting.
there was more, and it's because
Yeah.
they gave us what we wanted. They gave us more interactions between the members, especially with 1-1 being back and bringing the drama. But I just, for me, like, I'm with you in the sense that I want to see more of Do Jun with his old family. I want to see more of him on screen. He got more screen time this episode, but genuinely, we focus so much on the Soonyang dynasty right now that we don't get a lot of him, but we're starting to get more again. We now have his motivation, and that motivation went from stopping his mom from having a heart attack. Now, after that scene, I was like, where the heck do you go from here? She just died. Now that we know it's the life sciences, it gave him somebody to go after. It is like a very clear vendetta, realizing after he went and spoke to his grandfather, the chairman, and asked him, why did you shut life sciences down? And he's like, oh,
Well,
we need to show, basically we need to like show these people that we are weak so that we can be strong. And he's like, but you hurt all of these people. What about all of the shareholders? Why would you care about those people?
Yeah.
He specifically said those people.
Yeah, and like, you're my grandson. You're never going to live a normal life like that. Don't ever speak about, like, don't recklessly speak like this ever again.
Those are words of a sociopath.
Dude, like, he's actually crazy.
He's crazy, and it's hurting Do Jun to a level that you can see that he has to like put the mask on again. He has a moment where he's like dumbfounded, and then he has to put the mask on again. And it makes me think, we don't see much in the latter half of the episode. Honestly, it kind of like disappears, his little vendetta, because they have
Yeah.
other things to focus on.
Yeah.
But I hope it comes back, and I hope it comes back in a big way, because I am on board. I am finally fully team Do Jun. I'm like, yes, go, take them down. You kill this company. You get rid of them because they
you
are
weren't on
evil.
board before?
No, see, this is the thing. Do Jun, when we see him, basically from episode 3 through 5, he is this confident, he's not a playboy, but he's like an overconfident 20-year-old who knows all the answers. His motivations weren't clear other than he clearly wants to do something about the family. We didn't even know if he was working in his old family's favor. We didn't know where the connection there was. Was he going to buy them property? What was he going to do? At the end of the episode, we find out that, yes, he was trying to stop the heart attack. And then this episode, it all becomes clear what he was originally doing and now what his goal is. His goal is to get revenge. It's to put a stop to all of the corruption in this family. And the way he's going to do it is taking over Soonyang, shutting them down, and bringing miracles to the people that he's investing in. Like, it's just so much more clear. Obviously, I liked him. I like Song Joong Ki, so like, I was on board, but from a character perspective of Do Jun, I saw vulnerability, I saw drive, and I think this is basically what I think in a nutshell. He is so driven right now that I think he's going to do bolder things, he's going to make more enemies, and he's going to make a lot more mistakes. And that is exciting to me. That is so exciting.
I mean, what move can be bolder than showing your face as the major shareholder to his grandfather and introduce himself as, hi, I'm Miracle Investments major shareholder, Do Jun.
Yeah, pretty dumb, but that's exactly, you're right. That is the boldest move you could do. I'm just surprised it happened. We are in episode 6.
I mean, if it is going to be a 16 episode show, we're getting close-ish to the middle. something has to keep building, right? This is like
This is like the start of arc 2. If it's a 3-act structure, this is kind of like the beginning of that second act. So we're ramping up towards the climax for sure, for sure.
But I don't know. I always felt like his journey was about revenge, not just about his mother. Like, dude, if someone killed me and I came back from the dead, I'd want to figure out like who killed me, why killed me. It was always going to be about revenge. But I agree that his mom is like an extra drive of like I need to avenge her in a way, because he learned that it's basically his grandfather that killed her now.
Yeah.
And like
It's interesting that you bring up like revenge because yeah, absolutely. We've talked a lot about kind of the 3 mysteries, right? So what happened to his mom, what happened to his old self who betrayed him, and then what happens to what would that be? 4-2?
himself now.
Like Do Jun, yes.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 mysteries. But over the last 3 episodes, he kept doing things. He kept doing things like causing Hondo Steel to be sold for $700 million. And it was never quite clear why. We knew what he was doing, and he was obviously making a lot of moves in the back end, investing in the US market, all of these different moves, right? But it wasn't clear until now why he was doing it. And the mother was kind of like that solidifying factor. And now that we know what had happened there, I think the pieces are going to start to tie together more. So we'll probably find out that his revenge path will overlap with whoever betrayed him. And it's starting to look like the chairman for the slush fund, 1-1 for, well, he has his own plans, as we'll get to. And then, the family members themselves, everybody has a piece in this. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. There's a lot going on and a lot we want to cover. But let's start with the chairman specifically. We talked last episode of whether we thought he was corrupt. Originally, we're like, oh, it might have started. I think I specifically was like, I think it started with 1-0 and not the chairman. I thought that the chairman was a shrewd businessman, mean, but not corrupt. And now we know for sure he definitely did some sketchy things. And the worst part, well, maybe the best part, I don't know how you feel about this. He did it for his family. It wasn't a business decision. He wanted to keep his family in charge of Soonyang to protect them from a takeover. Does this make him more likable or less likable?
I think it is a very typical move for him. I don't see it as a likable or unlikable decision.
Okay.
I feel like he just needs to keep power in his family, and he'll do whatever it takes because Soonyang is his life.
Soonyang, but that's what's interesting, right? Like Soonyang is his life, and his right-hand man, he even said, I wish you were my son in an earlier episode. I thought he might want to pass it off to a successor that would be more fitting. And obviously he looks at his eldest grandson as the one, and even asks Do Jun, he's like, are you sure you don't want to take the company? He's like, I don't. And we now know. Oh, go ahead.
But what he said to 1-1 after dinner, the entire intense dinner, he's like, I don't think I am going to be... He basically said something about, like, he's not working for the company because the grandfather doesn't want him to. Because before he is the grandfather's grandson, he is his dad's son.
Right.
So I feel like there was going to be no way the chairman would want Do Jun to take over because of what he said. It was correct. He is his dad's son, the son who got kicked out of the family for being different and for not joining the business.
I think that's where one of the double standards comes in, though, because when we think about what happened with the fourth family, they weren't even allowed at dinners before, and Do Jun's relationship with the chairman is so different than anybody else. He is the one person who can get him to budge on things. Like not 1-1, not 1-0. Nobody else in the family can get him to change his mind except for Do Jun, not even his wife. I feel like if he had said from a young age that he was interested, he would have been groomed as such. But he said, I have no interest. And that actually was one of the things that won over his grandfather, because he's just going to go to law school and help the company in other ways. And when he expresses that he doesn't, you see the grandfather laugh. He's like, okay, I get it. I think that's why he keeps putting all of his marbles into 1-1 as the future.
Yeah, but I guess now, like, because remember in the earlier episodes where he basically wants someone who thinks like him, who understands him, and basically wants this person to be his successor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess I don't see why he couldn't have tried to push Do Jun into wanting to be more interested in the company, because he did see him as someone who could be his possible successor. Like, that's why he gave him all the second chances for his the fourth family and everything, is because he saw that Do Jun is a pretty good candidate to be the next successor. So
It's a good point.
yeah, I don't know. He has so many double standards, because he obviously says, like, at one point when he threatened Jin Ju in the car way back when, he's like, I don't care if you're my family. If you did me wrong, you're like dead to me, type of thing, right? So if blood doesn't matter, then yeah, why doesn't he just hand off the company to his right-hand man, the guy who he wishes it was his son? Like,
Yeah. It's a good question. It's what makes him an interesting character, because he is kind of real in that way. We all have double standards. I could say, I would never invest in Soonyang, and then I see the opportunity to make $1 million overnight, and it's like, well, I invested short term. It's like, yeah, I would hope that I wouldn't make that decision, but we all are driven by things that we might not even understand. There's greed, there's selfishness, there's family, and he sees it. I think he sees the slush fund as doing the right thing in his mind. He's like, I would never do something against the business. But investing in his children is bad for the business. His children just don't understand the business. And this is bad for the business. Life Sciences was going to grow. And the only reason that he is doing this is to keep his family in power. It's protecting them from a takeover. It's protecting them long term. But it's bad for the business. And so he is a double standard. He is a one large walking double standard. He is contradiction 1.0. So yeah, you're absolutely right. He's this fascinating character who I don't like, but I'm just constantly in awe of. Especially, again, shout out to the actor who plays him, because he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's so good. He is intimidating, and yet I cannot look away.
Yeah, he is such a complex character, so it is a very impressive performance from the actor. I really liked him. Like, I didn't know him before. I never really watched any K-dramas at the minute, I don't think. So I'm glad
I've never seen him before.
Yeah, I'm really glad to see his character, or like, yeah, him play this character. Amazing actor.
Let's quickly talk about 1-1. Another very good actor. I remember him from Sweet Home. He's been in a few other things.
Mr. Sunshine, dude, he was
Mr.
so
Sunshine.
evil in Mr. Sunshine. I thought he was like I thought at the time when I watched it, I'm like, oh, that's a good actor as well. Didn't realize he was the guy in Sweet Home as well, and other dramas as well. I can't really think off the top of my head. But
He has range. Actually, and you know what? This is a good time to bring up a comment that we had on one of our old videos that was talking about our very first episode. So I want to thank, I'm going to mispronounce your name, unfortunately, Intania Aisha, for commenting. And she said, I understand what you said about Song Joong Ki's acting being better here compared to Vincenzo, but rather than acting, I think it depends on how the writer wrote the character, because I've seen him in, and again, I'm going to mispronounce this, Sung Kyung Kwan Scandal. And he's playing a happy-go-lucky playboy there. He's a great actor in general, so I'm glad he can show his acting range here in Reborn Rich. And this is referring to my comments of like, I think this is the best he's ever been in the first episode, because we're seeing him play a character he's never played before. Somebody very quiet, very withdrawn, very respectful, as opposed to something like Vincenzo, where he's playing somebody who's like very confident, or Space Sweepers, where he's like a kind of a cowboy type character. It was a very different role for him. So a great comment. I don't know if you have anything to say to that, but I totally agree. It's just showing more of his range, and it's nice seeing him do different things, I think, is what I was probably trying to get at.
that comment made me remember that Descendants of the Sun wasn't the first thing I saw him in. It was in a movie a long time ago with one of your favorite actors as well, uh, Park Bo Young.
I love Park Bo Young.
Yeah, so I think I watched Strong Woman Do Bong Soon, and
Hmm.
then I wanted to see more of her. I saw this movie, The Werewolf Boy. I watched it. I'm like, oh yeah, it's a pretty good movie. I can't
Okay.
really remember it now because it's been so long. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, it was a great movie as well. And then I realized the actor, the male lead, was Song Joong Ki. I didn't even recognize him.
Your love for him goes even further back.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah, but I agree that it's the direction of the characters that the directors want them to take.
Yep.
So for um, so far I kind of like his character here. He was really good at playing crazy in the first episode, like
Yes, he
really
is.
good
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah.
But I felt like this episode he was not as impressive, even cringe in the boat scene.
Oh, the character, not the actor.
Yes, the character.
Yeah, the
Not
actor's
him.
great. The actor's great. No, the character, as in, so last episode, we're like, first episode, we see him in the future where he's like completely unhinged. In the last episode, he comes back and he's like very confident and self assured and
Very sly.
very sly. And then this episode, we kind of see both sides because, as you say, in the yacht scene where he's trying to win over.
Bro, he's so cringe. I feel like that's how you flirt with people.
What? Hold on, what? I do not go and rent a yacht and then that seat where you're sitting, actress, blah blah blah. That's where she sat. Maybe that's why you like sitting there so much. Yeah, because you like sitting there, right? You like sitting there. Yeah, yeah. Oh, that glass you're holding. Do you know who held that glass? It's so and so.
No. It's the
That's
lighter. He's about to light the cigarette. Oh wait, I haven't seen this before. This actor or famous person must have left it here the other time they were here. Oh, my bad.
that is not how I flirt. How dare you?
I was more referring to the scene where they walked out on the outside of the boat, and he's like, "I'm very intrigued by you."
Okay, that's probably more accurate. I I am not one would call smooth, as you can just see. But yes, it was awkward, and he was doing his best, but it shows not so sly around her. He may have big plans, but he is not good at flirting.
But I feel like he's so robotic around her too. So it's like, I don't know. Ugh. I was just like,
She is his kryptonite.
I didn't even get the feeling that he was actually intrigued by her though. Like, it didn't. His actions and his words didn't really make me feel like he was actually smitten by her. Like, I felt like that entire thing was like, yeah, but she was saying like, oh, you only want to get married because your grandfather wants us to get married or whatever. And he's like, yeah, what's so bad about that type of thing? I can totally see that part being true. I don't
Right.
know if I actually believe him when he says, I'm intrigued by you. Maybe a little bit, but like his the way he acts doesn't really sell it for me.
I think he is because, again, I think she's like an unknown variable to him. It's not necessarily that he's like smitten by her, but she is, if he can have her on his side, she is another piece to play. And she is wild. She is crazy. She knows more about him than he does about her. And I think that excites him. I don't know that, yeah, he's like in love or anything. I just think she's exciting to him.
Yeah, I don't know if I buy that fully, but I guess we'll
Okay,
see
okay.
like more as their relationship progresses.
If
Like,
it progresses, because, okay, here's the question for you. Do you think that he did enough to win her over, or is she still more interested in Jin Do Jun?
I'm for sure more interested in Jin Do Jun. Like when her assistant came in um to talk about a person, I thought she was referring to 1-1 until she whipped out the pictures and it was Jin Do Jun, and I was like,
Jin Do
oh,
Jun, yeah.
yeah, she is still totally on him. And like, also, why would they like? I guess, like, yeah, it makes sense that like he has to be in the same building as Miracle Investments or whatever.
Yep.
His language institute, and they're like, oh yeah, maybe he's planning to go study abroad. He's like in this language institute a lot. The same building as Miracle Investments. Like, I don't understand how it was this girl that pulled up the dirt about it, like how they figured it out, because there was already pictures of him coming and leaving the same building from 2-0, like the second brother, the driver, like was spying on him. They already know that. Like, so I don't understand how like this connection was not drawn yet.
I think it's probably because that was disproven. Like, he didn't invest, and his grandfather even asked him about it, right? So he was like, "Are you investing with Mr. O?" And he did lie, but he had also done enough to disprove it, where he was like not bidding for Hondo Steel. And so at that point, they're like, "Oh, okay, so he really is just in that building for language." So it kind of makes sense. I'm not saying it's a good explanation, but that's one of those ones where I can kind of suspend my disbelief enough. So when they start looking into him and they're like, okay, but Miracle is in that building and it's plausible, but she goes, I don't believe in coincidences, which is the exact same thing that the chairman said. I believe she's the best successor. I'm like, oh my God, she is the one who has the most in common with the chairman. Do Jun does not have a lot in common with the chairman. He knows what he wants. He reads him really well and plays that against him. He's not like him. She is like him. She is manipulative. She is cunning. And she can turn off her brain and make a business decision. And so I'm like, oh my God, she should run the company. But also, please don't. That is everything wrong with the company.
True.
Okay, but there's another person. So she's interested in Do Jun. We have another person who is interested in Do Jun by the name of Seo Min Yeong. Seo Min Yeong coming into this episode again and only there for one scene. I feel like she gets her 5 minutes of screen time, sometimes less, and always played for laughs. But this scene, for once, I felt at least it wasn't played for laughs. I actually genuinely felt for her. She was still embarrassed, which I'm not happy about, because we talked about that last episode. You did a great job of bringing up how, like, she's just embarrassed at every turn, no matter where it is. If she's at her job at the hotel, she's at her job at the coffee shop, where is she getting all these jobs? But in this case, he runs into her in the library, and she calls him out for not showing up to their date.
She was genuinely concerned about him. So when she saw him in the library, she says, like, I thought there was something wrong. Maybe you're sick. Maybe something's wrong with the family. You had me worried, but instead you're at the library, like just living life normally. Like, how dare you treat me this way? How dare you stand me up? And then the entire library is, like, whispering, like, oh my God, she's causing a scene. Oh my God, why is she doing that? That's so rude. That's so inconsiderate. Does she have no shame? Like, is she not embarrassed? Everyone's, like,
they take their library so seriously.
Yeah, like, I feel like that might, I don't know if that's true, like, in real life and in other dramas, that's totally how they portray libraries too. Like, this is a silent place. You only read, you do not breathe, do not make a sound. Like, this is sacred.
Qomi, are you saying you breathe in the library?
Dude, I haven't even been to a library in years.
Okay, fair enough. But you bring up a good point. She specifically says, like, how dare you look down on me? And it's true. Like, I kind of forgot about it. I'm sure several other people did, including him, because he had agreed to go on this date, and then everything happened with his mom, and she sees him running down the street. And so he's just been so caught up with so many different things, and you can tell he feels bad, but at the same time, what do you say? Like, he can't just open up about everything that he's going through, and it is in the library.
You can open up a tiny bit.
He did a little bit at the end. So then he goes out, and it is the very cliche scene. And this is where I really liked the library part, because I was like, good, she should call him out. I know she's getting embarrassed again. The writers are kind of putting her in that awkward situation. I feel like it could have been in private, and it would have played the same.
She could have pulled him outside the library.
Totally. And call him out, because he needed to be called out. She did the right thing. She stood up for herself. I hope this is the end of her getting the treatment of just being the side character, just always being the love interest. She is good at what she does. She's a confident character. I like that, and I'm glad she asked him out. He needs to respect her more.
Does she seem confident, really, though?
No, she lacks confidence. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I mean, she should be confident. But I hope this is the point where it's a turning point, because he does go out So she gets caught. She's gonna run out with her library book above her head, and he brings out the
Bro,
umbrella. Very
what
classic.
is the book going to do to protect you in the rain, huh? Like, what makes you think that you getting soaked is better than your book getting soaked? I do not understand. Okay, anyways, continue.
No, you have a good point. She should have put it in the backpack and just like maybe put her backpack over her head or just run.
Yeah, hello?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
good would a book do to you if it's soaked? But anyways.
Good point. Very good point. So he comes out and he brings her the umbrella. He leaves her with the umbrella, not before standing in the rain though, and basically being like, wait, let me leave the umbrella, go stand 5 feet away and be like, I don't look down on you. And then leaves.
You forgot the most important phrase.
Sorry, what was it?
I don't deserve you.
There it is. There it is. He really put the ball in her court in that way.
Bro.
I don't deserve you.
Do you think that's like a proclamation of, like, or like a declaration of his love to her in a way? Can it be interpreted that way? That he basically confessed to her that he is interested?
Yeah, I think so. I genuinely do.
This just kind of secures like the romance in the story. Then, like, I was really
yeah.
hoping that she would be such a strong and confident character. I want to see episode 1, Seo Min Yeong, the Grim Reaper of Soonyang prosecutor. Man, how does she go from this character who is so fumbly, so
Boy crazy?
yeah, to that,
Yeah.
like, that woman? I want to see her. I want to see her step on him.
All valid. And I'm totally with you. I am totally with you.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm really hoping for her character development. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Same. Another character that we should mention because he made a reappearance is Do Jun's brother.
Oh my gosh.
He always comes in with the best lines. He's coming in, he's just like dancing in the background, and you're like, who is that? Oh, right. Okay.
I love how no one gives a crap. They don't.
No.
He's just dancing, singing, doing whatever, and everyone.
Like even at dinner, you see him at the table, and he's got like a bandana on and long black hair, and I was like, who is that? Oh, right.
Gold jacket.
Yeah. No one, like the grandfather doesn't even comment on it.
Yeah, he doesn't
He just
even
lets
care.
it go.
Yeah. He's the black sheep of the family, basically, man. Like.
Yes. He's great though. Like the thing I like about him appearing this episode is it was that little bit of levity. It was a very heavy episode, and he came in at just the right time. It was even a serious conversation, and there he is dancing in the corner. Like,
no, when it was in the car, when the dad was like, he admitted that he felt like shame almost, that he knows what his son wants, but he can't give that to him because he is his father. And then, what was his name again?
we talked about this. Hyunjun. Yeah.
Hyunjun's in the back crying. Oh my god, father, how did you know that I got into, what was it, like a prestigious music academy or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. He's gonna become a singer.
Sochun Music, yeah. He's like, how did you know that I had talent? You can really see talent, huh? Like, you knew that I got in. How did you know? My talent, right? I was like... That is a really That's a really great way to like break the tension and kind of just leave the scene a little more lighthearted.
For sure. Because like that's another one of those heartbreaking moments where just like his old family, where his mother feels like she can't give him anything, now his dad is feeling the same way. His mom in the second episode kind of expresses the same thing. It's like, you are going to be an outcast here because I felt the same way. We don't fit into this family, but do what you can. And I feel like she's feeling better now about him, whereas the dad is now feeling the shame that even though he's successful in his own field, Do Jun can't be who he wants to be or do what he wants to do. And the brother just instantly breaks that for us.
Yeah. And I don't know, like I thought that this episode was so... It was heavier. Like, we started off with the mom's death. We started off with like Soonyang Life Science and like basically ripping off the public and their money. You see how corrupt the chairman is. Like, just so many like just disappointing human characteristics of people in this episode. But we had the older brother Hyunjun breaking the ice, but I also really liked Mr. Oh's character when we see the son-in-law. His name is Choi Jongjae, I believe. 3 Alpha. The son-in-law.
The one who is aiming to become the mayor, right?
Yes.
Yep.
When he was power walking, I love his character. By the way, he is so timid, so scared. He's really good at playing this like doing this performance. I don't know, like it's just so funny to watch. But you see him power walking, and then you see Mr. O just power walking, running up to him and doing the whole bit like, oh my god, like it's you, like I always wanted to meet you, I can't believe I'm here running with you. And you see him running away from him, and
but he's just like not very quick.
yeah, he's like, yo, get away from me, and Mr. O just runs up and catches up to him. I don't know. I don't know why that scene was so enjoyable to me. I think it's just because it was just so silly, just like how the brother broke the ice. Like this is also another like a breather moment before like everything's going to come down again.
Yeah, and it's exactly that, because it does. Like then you get them actually having a meeting, and it's about, okay, we want to back you, we want to push you into this, and then we get later on him talking to the chairman when he actually is in the race for it, and he's basically talking about how I'm not going to fear you anymore. You actually need to fear me. And it's a very good point, because Do Jun is the one who brings it up, I believe, where he actually talks to his, well, I guess uncle in that case. And what is the exact line? Do you know it?
It was when he was talking to his aunt and uncle?
Yeah.
Oh, before she was going to storm in and like go all crazy on her dad.
Yeah, where he recommends that they don't.
Yes, he basically says like, if you go in with uncle, he's only going to see him as son-in-law. Like he has to go in to show that he is like the mayor candidate.
Yeah. I guess he is a prosecutor, and he's a mayoral candidate. Mm-hmm. And it's such a good point.
Yeah, it's so true. Like I don't. Like I guess like it makes sense, like they never saw it that way, but like it, like you can see the confidence he got from it as well, and he's such a different character when he's with the Soonyang family versus like when he was doing the broadcast telling
the press conference. He's in charge. He is coming down on corruption. He is confident. He is self-assured.
Completely different person, and I thought like, wow, like. It's so sad seeing how this family crushes people who are kind of like outsiders in a way. It's like 4 Alpha, how she's an actor and how they look down on her. Same thing, he's a prosecutor for the family. They still look down on him. Like, it's so refreshing to see them outside of the family. And it's so sad to see them within the family and how they're viewed. So like I really like that scene where we see him debriefing and basically saying he's fighting for the public, and that's how he basically won the mayor election. And even though he's still so scared of the chairman,
the hands shaking under the table.
And like when he becomes a mayor too, he doesn't address him as father-in-law or whatever, doesn't address him as father. He says chairman. And I was like, damn, that is a power move. You know when Do Jun was like, he hates politics because politicians have power and power moves money. He is scared of him now. And I was like, yes, this is the power play. This is the big moves. I'm so proud of him. And
totally.
Yeah, but then before all that happened, when he was basically telling the chairman before he won the election that he's going to be the conglomerate hunter. He is going to basically demolish corruption and everything. I was like, damn, you got the balls to say that stuff. Even though he was still like shaking and he was so nervous, and he was like kind of like glancing at him very slightly, like too scared to look at him. And then when he came out and said to Do Jun like thank you for helping me, but also why did you help me? Because like, yeah, why? And he says because everyone should see you as the mayor instead of just the son-in-law or something like that. It was just like such a moving phrase, and you see him like about to burst into tears in the background. I love his character.
It's funny because in the early episodes, I found him to be too much.
Yes.
Same thing with some of the other in-laws, especially. They, what you could say would be like overact. It's very like soap opera-y, like show all the emotions. Like you don't just like shake a little bit under the table. It's like your lip quivers and all of this stuff. Played the right way and at the right moment, though, it can be very effective because it's telling you what they want you to feel. It's telling you this person's emotions. And in Korean dramas, one of the things I appreciate that you don't get as much in really realistic Western dramas is they're not afraid to go with the cliche.
Yes.
So often we in Western media try to subvert at every opportunity. You know, being a writer, I often fall victim to that. I'm like, I don't want people to know what I'm trying to do next. I always want to be subverting. I don't want to go with a cliche. But the reason I watch Korean dramas is because I feel things and cliches work.
Yes.
And so when you have this nervous character and he's played as well as this, it actually can be very effective where you start to really feel for him. And when you see him turn that corner and become the confident character, it really hits you. Mm-hmm. It's a powerful scene.
Yes, he is climbing up there to be one of my favorite characters in this show.
Whoa.
A surprising underdog. Like,
yeah.
I feel like he is probably going to end up corrupt or something like that. I don't know, man. But like at
hope
the
not.
moment, I'm enjoying his character.
He's a character that, I think we actually could see be one of the ones who changes in this new future because we actually remember seeing him come out of the elevator and he's in politics in the old future, but his wife is still demanding what he does, where he goes, everything else like that. I'm hoping that changes and he becomes a figure that the family needs to fear or at least respect.
I feel like the chairman definitely fears him in a way now, but I want to see the respect. Yeah. Because even in this episode, he was giving her a leg massage as soon as like they sat down and everything. And I was like, homie, like you're so whipped.
Look, there's a difference between being a prosecutor and a whipped husband. That I think is always going to be true.
It was so cute when she was gonna go like crazy on her dad, and he's like, "Oh no, don't cry, don't cry, sweetie. It's okay. Like, oh my brave wife or whatever. Like, don't worry." And I was like, so cute.
It is so
funny.
Cute.
I love his character. It's like he's not like a complex character like the chairman.
Yeah.
But he has his own contrasts within himself.
He does.
Which
he
makes
does. There's
him
more
really
depth than we initially thought.
Yes, yes, he's not just like a bimbo.
Yeah, and something we haven't really talked about with him is the reason he was able to run for mayor is because he was backed by Do Jun. When the chairman wouldn't back him because he doesn't like politics, he's always mad at politicians, which again is a double standard because if he wanted to, getting involved in politics is how you change those policies. Mm-hmm. When Do Jun, well, he doesn't know it's Do Jun, but when Miracle backs him for his mayoral bid, that changes everything. It allows him to go in, be the conglomerate hunter, and essentially, Do Jun has now stacked the chessboard. So Miracle is a shareholder for a shared bid with Soonyang. Then you also have the mayor, who he now has in his back pocket. You see him basically interacting with all these people. They both have, if you pretend that the chairman is on one side of the board and Do Jun is on the other side, at the end of the episode, when he meets him and they are squaring off, it's like, okay, they've all laid out their pieces now. What's going to happen? And that I love. The one person who I think is a wild card, because I don't think he wants to work for his grandfather, but I also don't think that he wants to work with Do Jun, is 1-1. 1-1 is kind of the wild card. I don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah, I wonder if what he said in the early, Do Jun, when he said in the earlier episodes, when they're kids, wow, you've basically been crazy your entire life. Like you've been nuts from the start. I wonder if that's gonna hold true. I wonder if we see his spiral into his madness. Totally.
Yeah, it's. Again, this episode, on top of just being a great episode, has me so excited for next week. Yes. I still think they have a tendency to introduce things and then wrap it up too quickly. Like I was excited about them creating this game of cat and mouse, backing the campaign, all these other things through Miracle, and I was like, ooh, now the chairman really wants to know who the majority shareholder is. And then at the end of the episode, it's like he goes and meets him, and I'm like, oh, that was so fast. But from here, it can only get more intense, and so
Yes.
I cannot wait for next week.
Yes.
With that being said, is there anything else you want to talk about before we get to our next section, which is good or bad? Anything you want to talk about?
Dude, whenever you throw this question to me during the session, it always like messes me up because I feel like I do have something to say, and then I kind of don't remember what I want to say anymore. So
That's fair.
Let's.
It'll come to you.
Yeah,
It'll come to you in good and bad because I've got a whole bunch of questions. I think I have 6 this time for you.
Ooh.
Let's go for it. How this works is I am going to throw a bunch of questions at Qomi, and all she needs to give me, she can only say good or bad for each one, and then we will discuss them afterwards. But
Okay.
let's give it a start. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Hyunjun's outfit, good or bad?
Good.
One's flirting technique, good or bad? The in-laws acting, good or bad?
In-laws, like all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Okay. The color grading in the episode.
This one is questionable.
The mayor's new persona being the conglomerate hunter.
Good.
And more donuts.
More donuts?
Yeah, they were sitting on the table.
When?
When they were in the Miracle office and they were being raided, there was a box of donuts sitting there.
Oh, bro, I totally missed that. But yo, donuts are good. Let's go with good.
All right. Let's break a few of these down. We've already talked about One's flirting. We've already talked about Hyunjun a little bit and his amazing outfit. We've talked about the in-laws acting and the mayor's new persona. We got to a lot. But what we didn't talk about was the color grading and how this episode was shot. I feel like this was one of maybe the most inconsistent episodes. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, or like the colors were all over the place. Like we know that we talked about in past episodes where there's a lot of greens, a lot of like darker tones, the contrasts. But this one was very questionable. I even thought the last episode, like episode 5, the lighting was really nice. I enjoyed all the natural lighting. There are some like green screen moments maybe that like stuck out a little bit because they always seem to have this like weird green highlight or like outline around them, something where it's like the green screen green that doesn't look
it's
like
a
the same.
reflection onto the actors. Yeah.
It's not the same as like the hues and the shadows and but this episode, like especially the yacht scene where it suddenly went to like
Orange
sepia or something.
Yeah, it was like the entire scene. It was so when we are talking about color correction and color grading, there's a big difference when you watch a Hollywood movie where there's a lot of depth to a scene. So you can kind of notice it because the shadows will be a very natural black. The highlights will be like a natural white in the sky with a blue tint around it. The skin tones should be a natural color. So they should be like a little bit of orange or like at least... Like, in this case, they should be a little bit orange, but they all, whatever your skin tone is, it all falls within a very narrow window of color. The problem here was the entire scene, the sky, the water, the actors were all sepia orange. It was all one color mess.
Yeah.
There was no depth whatsoever, and it just felt like it was a last-minute cut for some reason.
Like, yeah, I just don't know what the heck they were doing. Like, there were scenes like when he was in the restaurant. I thought those kind of deeper, warm tones actually worked. Like, he felt so isolated, and like, even though the colors were so warm and brown and goldeny, he felt so lonely and isolated. Like,
yeah,
that type of orangey warm tones really worked in that scene. But then,
sure.
For this, I don't know what they were trying to emphasize, like with the color. Maybe because, like, you know, color is supposed to be subtle, like brings out subtle emotions about the scenes.
Totally. Yeah, it's good to have different colors.
Were they trying to make it like they're on vacation and that's why it's orangey. Wait,
I thought
is
she was
it-
about to throw him off the boat.
Orange makes you want to throw people off the boat?
I don't know. It was weird. It was like, but that's the thing. It wasn't even like tropical orange. It was just like the entire scene was orange.
It was such a weird brown,
You know what it reminds me of?
orangey color?
You know, whenever a movie is set in Mexico and they make the
Yes,
sky yellow,
exactly. Yes, that.
it's that weird thing where like when you see that now, you're like, oh, they're in Mexico. And it's like, wait, the sky's not yellow in Mexico. But it was that same thing where I was like, is that what they're trying to do? Is like, yeah, is it supposed to be tropical? Is it like Jeju Island or something like that? What is
No, it's freaking Incheon.
Right. So why is it orange? I don't know. But a mess. And there was another scene too. What was it? Oh, the scene that you liked so much with the power walking.
Yeah, the colors were terrible. Like, it looked like he had pasty gray skin. You can totally see the contrast between that scene and the next one where he was talking in the meeting with Rio and the son-in-law. Like, you
Yep.
could see how their natural skin tone looked with, like, the natural lighting, like the from windows and everything, versus what the heck was that outside shot? Why did the sky look like that? Why did their skin tones look like that? Like, what was the purpose of
I don't know.
coloring it like that?
I get that it might have been like a cloudy day or something
No.
where no.
I don't think so, because overcast days don't make your skin look gray like that.
Actually, they make it look warmer because. So,
Yeah.
for those who don't know, we love cloudy days actually when shooting because
yes.
it creates very even lighting.
Yes.
So if you think of
It's like
Okay.
the entire sky is like a bounce light almost type of thing.
Totally, right? So if you have a light on the back of your phone, right? This is a very small light. So if you use it to light yourself, it's very harsh because it's very, very small. The bigger the light source, the softer the light will be. So if you have the entire sky as one big soft box that is diffusing that light, making it very, very soft, it evens it out on your skin and it makes it look very, very warm as well, just because, you're not getting as much of that blue light coming through. It should have warmed them up. It felt like maybe they were overcompensating and they didn't have enough exposure or something like that. Maybe they didn't have a bounce to bounce any of that light back up. It looked dreary. They looked dead. It was weird. When you compare that even to some of the other outdoor shots that they do in the garden, when 3 Alpha goes and confronts the chairman, very different vibe. It's like lots of greens, lots of color in their faces, absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, something was off about that. Whether it didn't have time to go to a color house, whatever happened in these particular scenes, I don't know, but wild.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't mean to like specifically call your camera out right now, but it just reminds me of that scene where the darks were so they kind of looks like how the blacks in your video right
It's
now.
lifted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
my camera, for example, I don't do what I do for this because my camera is meant to shoot in RAW. So I'm using it as a webcam right now, which means that
Bougie.
it's all very compressed, and basically it's running through OBS, which is compressing it even further. It's not meant to look like this. And so what ends up happening, to be able to be seen, I've already boosted the ISO, but I actually have to lift the blacks as well, even further, like the shadows more, just so you guys can even see me. So don't do this if you're doing color. They have all that information. We see them. They are definitely shooting on anamorphics, as we've talked about. They have
Yes.
very expensive equipment on this show. They have a lot of budget. They should be able to color their stuff a little
I'm
bit better.
so upset about the color of this show. Like there's so many beautiful scenes,
Yes.
and then there's some that look like that.
This. Yep. 200%. But we will stop harping on the color this episode and get to our review. Qomi, what would you give this episode of Reborn Rich? This is episode 6. What is your review out of 5 stars?
I would like to give it a 4, I think. It's like pretty up there. I just wish I understood more of the business technicalities and everything that was going on, but I think I'm just too kind of dumb. But
I don't think it's that, but I do think there's like historical context that's needed, a business background. Like it does get very technical at times. I'm 200% there with you.
yeah, I kind of want to knock it down a half star because of the colors, but I feel like I shouldn't be too picky because overall I did enjoy the episode. And I'll tell you why I enjoyed the episode, especially a little bit more after your review.
Okay. I would also give it a 4-star, which is my highest rating so far. I really liked this episode. This is my favorite episode for sure. It checked a lot of the boxes for me. It had the emotions with him remembering his mother. It had a few twists and turns throughout the way. It never felt like any scene dragged on too long. Really strong episode. And again, it just makes me excited for the next week. So I think that's awesome. So 4-star from me.
Yes, I'm super looking forward to now that he basically showed his trump card that
Heck yeah.
major shareholder. What are you gonna do
Yep.
now? I
What are you
want
gonna
more
do?
intensity. I need the answers. Yeah, but this episode actually gave me a little bit like a nostalgic feeling because when they were talking about the construction plans for New Seoul Town, they mentioned the World Cup Stadium, and I actually lived like really close by to there when I was staying in Korea for a couple months. Like, it was a 8-minute walk or something from there. They have what's the supermarket called again? Home Plus? I believe it's called a Home Plus. But
Okay,
that's
yeah.
where like that's the grocery store. That's also kind of like where you can get electronics and you can
No
this is, like, the
way.
entire store of everything you can get. Like I even bought an extra like luggage from there as well.
No
and I also
way.
bought pants from there in the supermarket.
It has everything. That's super cool though. So for context, you were living there for a few months. That's why you do speak a fair bit of Korean, like conversational Korean. And so you had the opportunity to kind of live there, go out and explore, experience the culture, all of that.
Yeah, so when they were talking about Sangnam-dong in Mapogu, I was like, I lived in Mapogu, and then they mentioned like the World Cup Stadium's gonna be built.
Yeah.
I was like, I went there to buy my groceries.
You're like, I was literally around the corner.
Yeah, so when they started talking about that, I dropped into Google Maps and I was like reminiscing, like, oh, I used to walk down this path. I used to walk here. I used to take the subway. It was just so like
so
reminiscing,
cool.
and I was like, but in this show, nothing has been built yet. Like,
Right.
yeah,
That's wild. So you're actually seeing the city from across the way. They're like talking about where everything's going to be, and you were in the new version of that where everything was built. No,
That's a good
that's
episode.
really really cool. That is awesome because it just hits home. It hits home.
Yeah. Even though it's not really home, it hit home.
It hit home. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. If you enjoyed the episode, please do us a favor and like the episode. Comment down below. Let us know what you liked about the episode, what you didn't like, what you would review it as at 5 stars, and hit that subscribe button as well. It helps us out a lot as we are, I think this is only our 5th episode on the channel. So we're still just starting out. But thank you so much for watching. Qomi, thank you for joining me this week.
No, you.
No, you. And that's going to do it.
See you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.